Every morning, my wife would count out my heart medications with the precision of someone who truly cared, kissing my forehead before heading to her job at the hospital. I kept working as a museum security guard despite my deteriorating condition. Never revealing the billions I'd inherited, I wanted to be loved for who I was, not what I had. But when I overheard a late-night phone call that changed everything, I discovered that sometimes the person saving your life and the person ending it can be the same person. What would you do if the greatest love of your life turned out to be your greatest threat? Before we begin, let me know where you're tuning in from down in the comments. And if you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next tale. Chapter 1. The morning light filtered through our bedroom curtains in that particular way that only happens in Buffalo winters soft and gray, like the world had been wrapped in tissue paper. I watched Jocelyn sleep, her auburn hair spread across the pillow like spilled wine, and thought for the 1,000th time how lucky I was, how completely, stupidly lucky. "Stop staring at me, creep," she murmured without opening her eyes, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Can't help it," I said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You're stuck with me." She opened one green eye, then the other, stretching like a cat in the morning sun. Good thing I like creeps then. This was us Preston and Jocelyn Thompson, married 5 years and still acting like newlyweds. At least, that's what I believed then. Looking back now, I realize I was living in a museum of my own making, admiring what I thought was authentic while missing all the forgeries. I rolled out of bed and padded to the kitchen to start the coffee, the floorboards of our modest colonial creaking under my feet. Outside, Delaware Park was dressed in November frost, joggers leaving breath clouds in their wake. This was our routine. Sunday mornings meant fresh bagels from Bagel J's, the New York Times spread across our kitchen table, and Jocelyn humming along to whatever jazz station she'd found on the radio. "Preston," she called from the bedroom. "Don't forget we're having dinner with your mom tonight." "Already in my calendar," I called back, though we both knew I'd need at least 2 more reminders before the day was through. The coffee maker gurgled to life, filling the kitchen with that rich, dark smell that made everything feel possible. I pulled 2 mugs from the cabinet. Hers said, "World's Okayest Wife," a Valentine's gift from 2 years back. Mine was plain blue, chipped on the handle from where I dropped it last summer. Here's what Jocelyn knew about me. I was Preston Thompson, 34 years old, night security guard at the Albright Knox Art Gallery. I made $42,000 a year, drove a 2008 Honda Accord with 127,000 miles on it, and considered a dinner at Oliver's Restaurant our special occasion splurge. I was reliable, steady, maybe a little boring, the kind of guy who got excited about a new episode of Jeopardy, and actually read the terms and conditions. Here's what Jocelyn didn't know. I was worth $2.3 billion. The money came from my Aunt Celeste, my father's sister, who'd lived like a recluse in a cabin outside Ithaca for 40 years. While the world thought she was just another crazy cat lady, she'd been quietly amassing one of the most significant private art collections in North America. Rothkos and Pollocks hidden behind false walls, a Monet in her bathroom, 3 Picassos in the barn with her 1947 Ford. When she died in 2009, she left it all to me, her only nephew, the kid who'd spent summers helping her feed those cats and never once asked why she lived the way she did. "Just remember, Preston," she'd told me the last time I saw her, oxygen tubes snaking across her gaunt face. "Money doesn't show you who people really are. Hiding it does." So I hid it. I liquidated just enough art to set up the appropriate trusts and investments, kept the rest in climate-controlled storage, and continued living exactly as I had before. I kept my job at the gallery partly because I genuinely loved being around art, but mostly because I needed to be somebody real, somebody regular, somebody worth loving for himself. Jocelyn appeared in the kitchen doorway wearing my old University at Buffalo sweatshirt, the one with the hole in the left elbow. Her hair was twisted up in a messy bun, and she had that soft, unfocused look of someone still shaking off sleep. God, she was beautiful. Not in that manufactured Instagram way, but in the real way, laugh lines and morning breath and all. "Coffee ready?" she asked, wrapping her arms around me from behind. "Almost. Bagels are on the counter." She squeezed tighter. You're the best, you know that? I try. She kissed my shoulder blade through my shirt, then spun away to raid the refrigerator for cream cheese. So I've been thinking, she said, her voice muffled by the fridge door. Maybe we should finally do something about the kitchen. You know, new cabinets, maybe granite countertops. Yeah? I kept my voice neutral. That's not cheap, Jaws. She emerged with the cream cheese, waving it like a wand. I know, but I've been setting aside from my bonuses. Plus, the hospital's doing really well this quarter. We could probably swing it if we're smart about it. Jocelyn was an administrator at Buffalo General Medical Center, managing the cardiology department. She made good money, better than me, actually, which she never let me forget in that playful way couples do. She had a head for numbers and a talent for making doctors and nurses actually show up to meetings. More than once, she'd come home with stories of charming some stubborn specialist into compliance with new protocols. Let me think about it, I said, pouring coffee into both mugs. Maybe after the holidays? She took her mug, wrapping both hands around it. You always want to wait until after something. After the holidays, after tax season, after Buffalo wins a Super Bowl. So never on that last one. She laughed, that bright, genuine sound that had made me fall in love with her in the first place. We'd met at a hospital fundraiser that the gallery had co-sponsored. I was there in my one good suit, trying not to eat too many free shrimp. She was there in a black cocktail dress, trying to convince Dr. Something or Other that the new filing system would actually save him time. You don't look like you're having fun, she'd said, appearing at my elbow while I studied a particularly uninspired watercolor they'd hung in the reception hall. I'm having a great time, I'd lied. This painting is just really something. It's hideous, she'd whispered. My boss's daughter painted it. We had to hang it. In that case, it's a masterpiece. She'd laughed then, too, and I was done for. Now, 5 years later, we sat at our kitchen table with bagels and coffee and the comfortable silence of people who didn't need to fill every moment with words. She read the style section. I tackled the crossword. Our feet touched under the table. 17 across, I said. 8 letters. Betrayal of trust. Adultery, she said without looking up. Doesn't fit. Starts with T. Treachery. I counted the boxes. That works. She finally looked up, smiling. I'm not just a pretty face, you know. Never said you were. That afternoon, we walked through Delaware Park, our breath making clouds in the cold air. The trees were bare, reaching toward a gray sky like desperate fingers. Other couples passed us, younger, older, some with dogs, some with kids. We were right in the middle, in that sweet spot where anything still felt possible. Do you ever think about kids? Jocelyn asked suddenly, watching a toddler in a snowsuit waddle after a pigeon. Sometimes, I said carefully. You? Sometimes. She squeezed my gloved hand. Maybe after we fix the kitchen. After the kitchen it is. We stopped at our usual bench, the one that overlooked Hoyt Lake. In summer, this place was all paddle boats and picnics. Now it was just us and a few determined geese. Tell me something I don't know about you, she said, an old game of ours. I thought about it. There was so much she didn't know, the money, obviously, but also the deeper fear that came with it. The fear that if she knew, everything would change, that she'd look at me differently, that every gift, every dinner, every decision would be colored by those billions sitting in various accounts and vaults. I'm scared of dying alone, I said instead, which was also true. She turned to look at me, really look at me. Preston Thompson, you're not going to die alone. You're stuck with me, remember? Promise? Cross my heart. That evening at my mother's house, I watched Jocelyn charm Bianca Thompson the way she charmed everyone with that perfect combination of attention and authenticity. They talked about recipes and hospital politics and whether the Bills had any chance this year. They didn't. You got a good one, Mom whispered to me in the kitchen while Jocelyn was in the bathroom. Don't screw it up. I'm trying not to. Try harder. After dinner, driving home through the dark streets of Buffalo, Jocelyn dozed in the passenger seat. The streetlights painted her face in passing strokes of amber. I thought about Aunt Celeste again, about her warning about money and truth. But what was truth, really? Wasn't the truth that I loved my wife and she loved me? Wasn't the truth that we were happy? At a red light, I noticed Jocelyn's phone light up with a text. She didn't stir. The sender's name was DL, and the preview showed, "Can't wait to." The light turned green. I drove on. It was probably nothing, a colleague, a friend from college. DL could be anyone. Denise from legal. David from her book club. Anyone. But something cold settled in my stomach, like swallowing an ice cube whole. When we got home, Jocelyn headed straight for bed, exhausted from the day. I told her I'd be up in a minute, just wanted to check that all the doors were locked. Our neighborhood was safe, but old habits from working security died hard. I stood in our dark living room looking out at the street. Everything was exactly as it should be. Our neighbors' houses glowed with warm light. Someone was walking their dog. The world spun on. "Coming to bed?" Jocelyn called from upstairs. "Yeah," I called back. "Just a second." I climbed the stairs slowly, each step a small commitment to the life I'd built. At the top, I paused at our bedroom door. Jocelyn was already under the covers, her phone charging on the nightstand. The screen was dark. "I love you," she said sleepily, as I slipped into bed beside her. "I love you too." She curled against me, her breath evening out into sleep within minutes. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to name the feeling that had taken root in my chest. It wasn't quite suspicion. It wasn't quite fear. It was more like the sensation you get when you're looking at a painting and something's off, the perspective is wrong, or the light source doesn't make sense, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is. Looking back now, I realize that was the night the first crack appeared in the canvas of my perfect life. Hairline thin, barely visible, but there all the same. I had no idea that within 3 years the whole thing would be ripped to shreds, but that night I just held my wife closer and told myself everything was fine. We were Preston and Jocelyn Thompson. We were in love. We were happy. We were perfect. What a dangerous thing to believe. Chapter 2. By the spring of 2015, I'd almost forgotten about that text from DL. Almost. It's funny how doubt works. It's like a drop of ink in water at first. It's just a small, dark spot, easy to ignore. But give it time, and it spreads, coloring everything. The changes were subtle at first. Jocelyn started working late on Tuesdays and Thursdays. "New cardiac protocols," she'd explain, kissing me on the forehead as she rushed out the door with her coffee. "The board wants everything updated by quarter end." I'd wait up those nights, watching Netflix in the dark living room, the light from the TV making everything look blue and strange. She'd come home around 10, sometimes 11, smelling like hospital antiseptic and something else, a men's cologne I didn't recognize. "How was the meeting?" I'd ask. "Brutal," she'd say, already heading upstairs. "I'm going to shower and crash. Early morning tomorrow." One Thursday in April, I decided to surprise her with dinner at the hospital. I packed Thai food from our favorite place on Elmwood, Pad Thai for her, drunken noodles for me, and drove to Buffalo General around 7. The parking garage was emptier than usual, most of the day shift long gone. The cardiology department was on the 3rd floor. I knew the way by heart from various holiday parties and the occasional lunch date. The hallways were quiet, that eerie hospital quiet that makes you want to whisper even when there's no reason to. The administrative offices were dark except for one Dr. Derek Lopez's corner suite. Through the partially open door, I could hear laughter. Jocelyn's laughter. I stood there in the hallway holding our dinner, feeling like an idiot. Of course she was meeting with Dr. Lopez. He was the head of cardiology. She was the department administrator. This was literally her job. I knocked lightly on the door frame. "Hey, sorry to interrupt." Jocelyn's head snapped toward me, her eyes wide with something that looked like alarm before settling into surprise. "Preston, what are you doing here?" "Brought dinner," I said, holding up the bags. "Thought you might be hungry." Dr. Lopez stood from where he'd been sitting on the edge of his desk, not behind it, on it, close to where Jocelyn sat in the visitor's chair. He was everything I wasn't. Tall, perfectly styled black hair with distinguished gray at the temples, the kind of jaw that belonged on medical drama posters. His white coat hung open over a fitted dress shirt that probably cost more than I made in a week. "Preston," he said, extending his hand. His grip was firm, confident. "Good to see you again. Jocelyn talks about you all the time." "Does she?" I looked at my wife, who was already standing, gathering papers from the desk. "Of course I do," she said, but her smile seemed forced. "Derek, we can finish this tomorrow." "No rush," he said, his eyes never leaving mine. "Enjoy your dinner. Thai food, if my nose is right." "From Jasmine?" "Good nose," I said. "I have a talent for detecting good things," he said, and something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. In the elevator down, Jocelyn was quiet. Too quiet. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Fine," she said, watching the floor numbers descend. "Just surprised to see you." "Is that a bad thing?" She turned to me then, and for a moment her face softened into something real. No, it's sweet. I'm just stressed about work." We ate in the hospital cafeteria, surrounded by exhausted residents and anxious families. The food had gone cold, but we pretended not to notice. Jocelyn talked about budget concerns and staffing issues, her words coming too fast, like she was trying to fill all the silence before it could ask questions. That night, she fell asleep with her phone in her hand. I gently pulled it free, meaning to plug it in for her. The screen lit up at my touch. 3 unread messages from Derek L. "Great seeing you tonight. We should talk about the situation tomorrow. Sleep well, beautiful. Beautiful." I stood there holding her phone, my heart doing something between racing and stopping. There were explanations for this. Derek Lopez was known for being inappropriate, for pushing boundaries. Maybe this was just his style. Maybe beautiful meant nothing. I plugged in her phone and went downstairs. Our house in the dark felt like a different place entirely. The furniture looked unfamiliar, suspicious, like it was hiding something. I sat on the couch where we'd watched 1,000 movies, where we'd made love last Sunday afternoon, where we'd planned our future. My phone buzzed. "Mom." "Can't sleep either?" her text read. "How did you know?" "Mother's intuition. Everything okay?" I started to type yes, then deleted it. Started to type no, deleted that too. "I don't know," I finally sent. "Want to talk about it?" "Not yet." "I'm here when you're ready." I put the phone down and tried to think clearly. What did I actually know? Jocelyn was working late. She was spending time with her boss. He'd sent a flirty text. That was it. That was all. But then, there was the new watch. She'd come home with it 2 weeks ago, a Tag Heuer that must have cost at least $3,000. "Early birthday present to myself," she'd said when I'd noticed it. "We got a bonus from the hospital for meeting our efficiency goals." I'd congratulated her, even though her birthday wasn't for 4 months, even though she'd never mentioned any efficiency goals before. And the lingerie. I'd found it doing laundry, a black lace set I'd never seen before, tags still on. When I'd mentioned it, joking that I must be in for a treat, she'd laughed and said she'd bought it ages ago, just hadn't worn it yet. But the receipt in the bag was dated last Tuesday, a Tuesday she'd worked late. The pieces didn't quite fit together into a picture yet, but they were accumulating like evidence at a crime scene I didn't want to investigate. My phone rang. It was Eddie, my shift supervisor at the gallery. "Preston, I know it's your night off, but Marcus just called in sick. Any chance you could cover?" I looked at the ceiling. Upstairs, my wife was sleeping peacefully, her phone full of messages from another man. "Yeah," I said. "I'll be there in 20. The Albright Knox at night was my sanctuary. During the day, it was all school groups and tourists, selfie sticks and gift shop chaos. But at night, it was just me and the art and the soft hum of climate control. I did my rounds slowly, taking comfort in the routine. Check the doors, verify the alarm sensors, walk the galleries. The contemporary wing was my favorite, all those Pollocks and Rothkos that reminded me of Aunt Celeste's hidden collection. Standing in front of Clifford Still's 1957 None 1, I thought about truth and deception, about the faces we show the world and the ones we hide. "You look thoughtful," a voice said behind me. I spun around to find Ariel Wilson, one of the nurses from Jocelyn's department. She was in scrubs, a Buffalo General ID badge clipped to her pocket. "Ariel, what are you doing here?" "Night shift," she said, gesturing to her scrubs. "I like to come here before work sometimes. Centers me, you know. I didn't know you worked here." "Yeah, security, pays the bills." She stood beside me, looking at the painting. "It's angry, isn't it? All that red and black, like something's burning underneath. That's one interpretation. What's yours? I thought about it. I think it's about things that can't be contained, feelings that are too big for their boundaries. She nodded slowly. That's better. More hopeful. We walked through the gallery together, not talking much. There was something comfortable about her presence, uncomplicated. She told me about her shift coming up 12 hours in the cardiac unit, the same department where Jocelyn worked. Your wife's great, by the way, Ariel said as we reached the exit. Really knows how to manage the egos in that department. The doctors can be difficult, she snorted. That's like saying Buffalo winters are a little chilly, especially Lopez, brilliant cardiologist, but he thinks he walks on water. Your wife's one of the few people who can handle him. Handle him how? Ariel paused at the door, studying me. You know, keep him in line. Make sure he actually shows up to meetings, files his paperwork. He listens to her. She paused. They make a good team. The way she said it carefully, like she was walking around something fragile, made me want to ask more. But I didn't. Couldn't. Have a good shift, I said instead. You too. Take care, Preston. After she left, I finished my rounds in a daze. Every painting seemed to be about deception now. Every sculpture looked like it was hiding something. By the time dawn came through the skylights, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to confront Jocelyn. Not yet. Not without proof. But I was going to pay attention. Really pay attention. The drive home was surreal. Buffalo waking up around me, joggers, dog walkers, school buses beginning their routes. Normal life happening while mine felt like it was tilting off its axis. Jocelyn was in the kitchen when I got home, making coffee in her robe. Hey, stranger, she said, kissing me good morning. Eddie called, said you took a shift? Marcus was sick. My hero, saving the art world one night at a time. She handed me a cup of coffee. I'm going to be late again tonight. Budget meeting. On a Friday? End of the month. You know how it is. I did not, in fact, know how it was, but I nodded anyway. Actually, she continued, stirring sugar into her cup, I might need to go to a conference next week, in Toronto, just for a couple days. A conference. Cardiac Care Innovations. Derek thinks I should go, network with other administrators. Derek. There it was. Is he going? She paused, just for a fraction of a second. A bunch of people from the department are. It's a big conference. That pause told me everything. But I smiled and said, Sounds good. I'll hold down the fort. She hugged me then, tight, her face buried in my chest. You're the best, you know that? So you keep telling me. She pulled back, looked up at me. For a moment I saw something in her eyes, guilt, maybe, or sadness. But then it was gone, replaced by that bright smile I'd fallen in love with. I've got a shower. Love you. Love you too. She headed upstairs and I heard the shower start. Her phone buzzed on the counter where she'd left it. I didn't look. Didn't have to. I knew what it would say. Instead, I walked to the window and watched Buffalo wake up fully, the city I'd lived in my whole life suddenly feeling foreign and dangerous. Somewhere out there, in one of those gleaming hospital towers, Dr. Derek Lopez was probably smiling at his phone thinking about my wife. And somewhere deeper, in a climate-controlled warehouse, $2.3 billion worth of art sat in the dark, waiting. My secret. My insurance policy. My aunt's voice echoed in my memory. Money doesn't show you who people really are. Hiding it does. I was starting to understand what she meant. The shower stopped upstairs. In a few minutes, Jocelyn would come down, dressed for work, smelling like lavender shampoo and possibility. We'd kiss goodbye. She'd promised to try not to be too late. I'd tell her to have a good day. And the performance would continue, both of us acting in a play where the script was changing without notice, where the ending was being rewritten by someone else's hand. I finished my coffee and practiced my smile in the microwave's reflection. It looked almost believable. Almost. Chapter 3. January 2017 came in with a blizzard that shut down Buffalo for 3 days. Jocelyn and I were trapped inside, playing board games and drinking hot chocolate like we used to when we first got married. For those 3 days, I almost forgot about DL, about late meetings, about Toronto conferences where she'd come back with a small bruise on her neck that she said was from her luggage strap. Almost. On the fourth day, after the plows had finally cleared Delaware Avenue, we were sitting at the kitchen table having breakfast when she started to cry. Not soft tears, real sobs that shook her shoulders and made her gasp for air. "Joss? What's wrong?" She couldn't speak for a minute, just shook her head while I held her, feeling her whole body tremble. When she finally pulled back, her face was blotchy and raw. "I need to tell you something," she said. My heart stopped. This was it, the confession, the end of pretending. "My cousin Warren is dying." I blinked. "What?" "My cousin, Warren Miller, from Vancouver." She pulled out her phone, showing me a photo of a young man with Jocelyn's same green eyes and sharp chin. We were so close as kids. He lived with us for a summer when his parents were getting divorced. I'd never heard of Warren Miller. In 5 years of marriage, through countless family dinners and photo albums, his name had never come up. "I didn't even know you had a cousin in Vancouver." "My mom's side," she said, wiping her eyes. "They had a falling out years ago. We lost touch, but he reached out last week. He has cancer, stage 4. She showed me another photo, this one from what looked like a hospital bed. The same man, but gaunt now, hollow-eyed. A chemo port visible above his hospital gown collar. "Jesus, Joss, I'm so sorry." "He's only 32, she said, fresh tears starting. "He has 2 little kids. And the treatment. God, Preston, the treatment costs are insane. The Canadian healthcare covers some, but there's this experimental therapy that might give him a chance. Insurance won't touch it." "How much?" "$60,000 for the full course." I whistled low. That was more than I supposedly made in a year. "I know," she said quickly. "I know it's impossible. I had to tell someone. I've been carrying this around for a week." I looked at my wife, her face destroyed by grief, and made a decision that, in hindsight, was the beginning of my end. "We'll help," I said. She looked up, confused. "What?" "We'll help. Not all of it, but we can send something. $5,000 a month, we can manage that if we're careful." "Preston, no. We can't afford—" "We can," I said firmly. "I've been saving, from overtime shifts, and there's some money from my dad's life insurance I never touched. It's just sitting there." This was partially true. There was money from my father's death, a small settlement from the malpractice that killed him. $20,000 that I'd never wanted to spend because it felt like blood money. But I could easily supplement it from one of my investment accounts without Jocelyn knowing. She stared at me like I'd just offered her the moon. "Are you serious?" "Family is family," I said. "Even family I've never met." She launched herself at me, covering my face with kisses. "God, I love you. I love you so much. Warren's going to. He'll be so grateful. You're saving his life." "Hey," I said, pulling back to look at her. "We're in this together, right?" "Right." She kissed me again, deeper this time. "I'll set up the transfer today. He has an account for medical donations. Whatever you need." She stood up, energy crackling off her like electricity. "I need to call him. Tell him the good news. He's going to cry. God, Preston, you don't understand what this means." No, I thought as she rushed upstairs to make the call. I probably didn't. That evening, she showed me the account information. A Canadian bank, routing numbers I didn't recognize. The name on the account was Warren Miller Medical Trust. It all looked legitimate. I set up the automatic transfer that night. $5,000 on the 1st of every month. When I hit confirm, Jocelyn wrapped her arms around me from behind. "You're a good man, Preston Thompson. I try." "No," she said, turning me around to face her. "You are. Some days I can't believe I got this lucky." We made love that night with an intensity we hadn't had in months, like the secret between us had been burned away, leaving only heat and need. Afterward, lying in the dark, she traced patterns on my chest. "I'm going to Vancouver next week," she said quietly. "To see Warren, help him get set up with the new treatment. I could come with you." "No," she said quickly. Too quickly. "I mean, it's better if I go alone. He's embarrassed about the whole situation, having strangers see him like this, even family he hasn't met. It would be hard for him." "I understand." "Do you?" "Of course. Take as much time as you need." She was gone for 4 days. She called every evening, sounding tired and sad. In the background, I could hear what sounded like hospital noises, beeping machines, distant announcements. She sent photos of Vancouver in the rain, of hospital corridors, of coffee cups in waiting rooms. Never of Warren, though. "He doesn't want anyone to see him like this," she explained. While she was gone, I worked extra shifts at the gallery and tried not to think about the photos she was sending. Tried not to notice that the metadata showed they were all taken within the same hour. Tried not to wonder why she sounded breathless when she called, like she'd been running, or doing something else that left you breathless. The night she came back, she was different. Lighter somehow. She hummed while she unpacked, told funny stories about airline passengers, cooked dinner while dancing to Motown. "The treatment is working?" I asked over pasta. "Too early to tell," she said. "But he's hopeful. The doctors are hopeful. That's something, right?" "That's everything." She reached across the table and took my hand. "I don't deserve you." "Stop. I mean it, what you're doing. Most husbands wouldn't. Most husbands don't have wives like you." She squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. "Promise me something. Anything. Whatever happens, remember that I love you. The real you. The person you are, not what you have or don't have." It was such a strange thing to say that I almost asked her about it. But then she was clearing the table, asking about my week, and the moment passed. February rolled into March. The 5,000 went out like clockwork. Jocelyn took 2 more trips to Vancouver. Each time she came back, she had new clothes. "Warren's friend owns a boutique," she explained, modeling a dress that looked like it cost a month's rent. "She gives me things for free. Samples and returns. Warren insists he says it's the least he can do since we're helping him." "That's nice of him. He's a nice guy. You'd like him." "I'd like to meet him." Her smile flickered. "Someday, when he's better." She started coming home with other things, too. Designer handbags, she said, were gifts from grateful families at the hospital. Jewelry that was estate sale finds from a shop near the hospital. A new laptop that was a work upgrade that had let me keep the old one. I watched our savings account drain, and these luxury items accumulate, and I said nothing. What was I going to say? That I thought she was lying? That I suspected the money was going somewhere else? Based on what, a feeling? A collection of coincidences? Besides, I had my own lie. The 5,000 a month was nothing to me. I could send 50,000 and not feel it. But she didn't know that, could never know that, because then everything would change. One night in early April, I came home from work to find Derek Lopez's car in our driveway. A black Mercedes that gleamed like oil under the streetlight. They were in the living room, papers spread across the coffee table. Derek was in jeans and a sweater, the most casual I'd ever seen him. Jocelyn was sitting close to him on the couch, their knees almost touching. "Preston," Derek stood when I came in, all smiles and handshake. "Sorry to invade. We're working on a grant proposal. Due tomorrow." "No problem," I said, even though every cell in my body was screaming problem. "Can I get you anything? Beer? Coffee?" "Beer would be great." I went to the kitchen, taking my time. From the living room, I could hear their voices, low and urgent. Not the tone of people discussing grants. When I came back with 3 beers, they were sitting farther apart, both looking at their laptops. "How's the art world?" Derek asked, taking the beer. "Same as always. Pretty and silent." He laughed. "Sounds peaceful." "It is." "Must be nice. The hospital is chaos. Thank God for your wife here. She keeps us all sane." "That's my job," Jocelyn said, not looking up from her screen. They worked for another hour while I watched TV in the kitchen. Every few minutes I'd hear one of them laugh. Once I walked by to use the bathroom and saw Derek's hand on Jocelyn's shoulder, pointing at something on her screen. She didn't move away. When he finally left, Jocelyn was wired, talking fast about the grant, about the department, about anything except why Derek Lopez had been in our house at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. "You okay?" she asked finally, noticing my silence. "Fine, just tired." "You work too much." "Pot, meat kettle." She laughed, but it sounded forced. "I'm going to shower. Long day." While she showered, I looked at the papers they'd left on the coffee table. Grant proposals, like they'd said. but also other things. Hotel receipts from Toronto. Conference schedules with blocks of free time highlighted. A napkin with numbers written on it that meant nothing to me. I picked up the napkin. Derek's handwriting. I recognized it from the Christmas card he'd sent. At the bottom, almost like an afterthought, WM 60K total, WM Warren Miller. I stood there holding that napkin, feeling the floor shift under me like I was on a boat in rough water. Derek knew about Warren. Derek was involved somehow. The shower stopped. I put everything back where I'd found it and went to bed. Jocelyn came out in a towel, her skin pink from the hot water. Coming to bed? In a minute. She dropped the towel and pulled on one of my t-shirts. Even now, even with everything, the sight of her made my chest tight. "I love you," she said, climbing into bed. "I love you too." And I did. That was the worst part. Despite everything, the lies, the suspicious trips, Derek fucking Lopez, I still loved her. Loved her like a sickness I couldn't shake. Loved her like a painting I couldn't stop staring at, even though I knew it was a fake. I sat in the dark living room, thinking about Aunt Celeste, about her hidden masterpieces and her warnings about money and truth. She'd lived her whole life hiding her wealth, and she'd died alone with her cats and her secrets. Was that my future? Sitting on billions while my wife stole thousands? Pretending not to notice while she pretended to love me. My phone buzzed. Corey, my brother. "You awake?" "Yeah." "Want to tell me why you're moving $5,000 a month to Canada?" Shit. Corey had helped me set up some of my investment accounts years ago. He must still have access to see transactions. Helping a sick relative. Whose relative? Jocelyn's cousin. There was a long pause. Then, "Be careful, Preston." What's that supposed to mean? It means be careful. That's a lot of money for someone you've never met. He has cancer. Okay, Corey. I'm just saying be careful. People aren't always who they seem. Good night, Corey. Night, Preston. Love you. Love you too. I put the phone down and looked around our living room. Our photos on the mantle, wedding, vacations, family gatherings, all those smiling faces, all those perfect moments. Had any of it been real? Outside, Buffalo slept under a blanket of new snow. Somewhere in Vancouver, a man named Warren Miller might or might not be dying. Somewhere closer, maybe in his Mercedes driving home, Derek Lopez was thinking about my wife. And somewhere in climate-controlled storage, $2.3 billion worth of art waited in the dark, my secret as heavy and hidden as Jocelyn's. I finally went to bed around 3, sliding in beside my wife carefully so I wouldn't wake her. She murmured something in her sleep and rolled toward me, her arm across my chest. I lay there until dawn, feeling her breathe against me, wondering how two people could be so close and so far apart at the same time. Wondering if the money I was sending to Canada was buying Warren Miller's life or paying for my wife's lies. Wondering if it mattered. Because either way, I was going to keep sending it. Either way, I was going to keep pretending everything was fine. That's what you did when you loved someone. You gave them rope, even when you suspected they were using it to hang you. "Just a little longer," I whispered to the darkness. "Just until I know for sure." But I already knew. Deep down, in that place where truth lives before we're ready to admit it, I knew. Chapter 4. Summer in Buffalo is like a different city entirely. The snow and gray give way to festival crowds and boat traffic on the lake. By July 2017, Jocelyn and I had found a rhythm to our deception. She pretended to visit Warren every few weeks. I pretended to believe her. We both pretended our marriage was the same as it had always been. The money kept flowing to Canada. Warren was responding well to treatment, according to Jocelyn. So well that he'd been able to take a vacation to Bermuda with his family. "That seems optimistic for someone with stage 4 cancer," I'd mentioned carefully. "The doctors say mental health is crucial for recovery," she'd replied without missing a beat. Besides, it might be his last chance to make memories with his kids. Everything she said had an answer. Every question I raised had an explanation. She was getting better at lying, or maybe she always had been, and I was just now learning to see it. The breaking point came on a humid Thursday in August. "You look tired," Jocelyn said over breakfast. We were having eggs at the kitchen table, windows open to catch whatever breeze might exist. Have you been sleeping okay? Fine, I lied. I'd been up most nights, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer I could keep this up. You're pale. It's summer. I'm always pale. She reached across the table and put her hand on mine. I'm worried about you. The concern in her voice sounded so real that for a moment I almost believed it. I made you an appointment, she continued. With Derek. What? Just a checkup. When's the last time you saw a doctor? I don't need... Please. She squeezed my hand. For me? He had a cancellation tomorrow. He's doing me a favor. I looked at my wife, her green eyes full of what looked like genuine worry, and felt something cold slide down my spine. Fine, I said. One checkup. She smiled, relief flooding her face. Thank you. 2 o'clock. I'll come with you. The next day, walking into Buffalo General felt like walking into a trap. The familiar hospital smell, disinfectant, and despair made my stomach turn. Jocelyn held my hand in the elevator, chattering about how Derek was the best cardiologist in Buffalo, how lucky we were to get an appointment. Derek's office was all diplomas and medical awards, proof of competence plastered on every wall. The man himself was in full doctor mode, white coat, stethoscope, that particular brand of concerned authority that medical professionals perfect. Preston, he said, shaking my hand. Jocelyn's been worried about you. I keep telling her I'm fine. Well, let's make sure. Better safe than sorry, right? The examination was thorough. Blood pressure, pulse, listening to my heart and lungs. Derek's hands were steady, professional. You'd never know they'd been on my wife. I'd like to run some tests, he said finally. EKG, echocardiogram, maybe a stress test. Is something wrong? Just being thorough. You've got some irregularities in your heartbeat. Probably nothing but with your family history. My father had a heart attack. Exactly. Let's not take chances. The tests took 3 hours. Jocelyn stayed with me the whole time, holding my hand during the echo, joking with the technicians. The perfect, devoted wife. A week later, we were back in Derek's office. This time, his face was serious. Grave, even. I don't know how to say this gently, he began, and my blood turned to ice water. Jocelyn grabbed my hand. What is it? The tests show significant abnormalities. Preston, you have what we call hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's a degenerative condition. Your heart muscle is thickening, making it harder to pump blood effectively. The room spun. That's not possible. I feel fine. Many people do until they don't. The condition can be asymptomatic for years, then suddenly... He trailed off, but the implication was clear. Oh my God, Jocelyn breathed. Tears were already streaming down her face. How bad is it? If we don't manage it aggressively, we're looking at potential heart failure within 5 years, maybe less. But we can manage it, I heard myself ask from very far away. Medication, lifestyle changes, regular monitoring. You'll need to quit your job. The night shifts and physical demands are too stressful on your heart. No strenuous activity. We'll start you on beta blockers and ACE inhibitors immediately. This can't be right, I said. I want a second opinion. Derek's face hardened slightly. Of course, that's your right. But Preston, I've been doing this for 15 years. The tests don't lie. Every day you delay treatment is a day you're gambling with your life. Jocelyn was sobbing now, her face buried in her hands. Preston, please just do what he says. I looked between them, my wife, devastated, her lover, professional and concerned. For a moment, just a split second, I saw something pass between them, a glance that had nothing to do with my health and everything to do with whatever game they were playing. But then it was gone, and I was just a man in a doctor's office being told he was dying. Fine, I said. What do I need to do? The next weeks were a blur of medications and forms. I quit my job at the gallery, my supervisor Eddie actually crying when I told him why. You're like part of the collection, man, he said. Place won't be the same. Derek prescribed 6 different medications, beta blockers that made me dizzy, ACE inhibitors that gave me a cough, blood thinners that left me covered in bruises. Within a month, I felt sicker than I ever had in my life. It's normal, Derek assured me at a follow-up. Your body needs time to adjust. Jocelyn became my nurse, dispensing pills every morning and night, checking my blood pressure, monitoring my diet. She took control of our finances. You don't need the stress, and suggested I sign a medical power of attorney. Just in case, she said, the form's already prepared. If something happens and you can't make decisions. I signed them. What else could I do? I was dying, apparently. My wife loved me enough to cry about it. The least I could do was make things easier for her. One night in October, I woke to find Jocelyn wasn't in bed. I could hear her voice from downstairs, low and urgent. I crept to the top of the stairs, my heart pounding. From fear or disease, I couldn't tell. "Can't keep this up much longer," she was saying. "He's asking questions." A pause. "I know, baby. I know. Just a little longer." Baby. "The power of attorney is signed. The will is updated. Once we—" She must have heard something because she stopped suddenly. I slipped back to bed, my sick heart racing for real now. When she came back to bed, she curled against me, her hand on my chest. "Couldn't sleep?" I asked. "Just checking with the night nurse about Warren's medications. They're very similar to yours, actually. Funny how that works." Funny, right. The next morning, I made a decision. When Jocelyn left for work, I called my brother. "Corey, I need you to look into something for me. Anything. Dr. Derek Lopez. Everything you can find. The cardiologist? Why? Just do it. Please. Preston, what's going on? I'll tell you later. Can you also check if there's actually a Warren Miller in any Vancouver hospital?" There was a long pause. Holy shit. Are you saying— I'm not saying anything yet. Just check. On it. Preston? Yeah? Be careful. That afternoon, while Jocelyn was at work, I did something I hadn't done in months. I drove to Rochester, 2 hours away, and walked into an urgent care clinic under a fake name. Paid cash. "I need a cardiac workup," I told the doctor, a young woman who looked confused. "Any particular reason?" "I was diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. I want a second opinion." 3 hours and several tests later, she came back with results. "Mr." She glanced at the fake name I'd given. "Smith, your heart is perfectly healthy. No signs of cardiomyopathy. No thickening. Nothing abnormal at all. Who diagnosed you?" "My mistake," I said, already standing. "Must have misunderstood." "Sir, if someone told you that you have cardiomyopathy when you don't, that's serious medical." But I was already gone. I sat in my car in the parking lot, hands shaking. Not from medication, not from disease, but from rage. Pure, crystallizing rage. They were trying to kill me. My wife and her lover were slowly, methodically trying to kill me. My phone rang. "Corey, there's no Warren Miller in any Vancouver hospital," he said without preamble. "But there is a Warren Miller who died in 2009. Car accident. And get this Derek Lopez? He's got 2 malpractice suits pending. Both settled out of court. And he just bought a condo in Toronto. Cash, $800,000. Toronto. Where Jocelyn went for her conferences. Preston, you there? Yeah. What do you want to do? I don't know yet. Do you need me to come up? Not yet, but soon maybe. Preston. Are you safe? I thought about the pills I'd been taking religiously, the power of attorney I'd signed, the way Jocelyn checked my pulse every morning like she was checking if I was still alive. "For now," I said. That night I palmed my pills instead of swallowing them, tucking them under my tongue until Jocelyn turned away. She made dinner salmon with quinoa, heart-healthy, and I ate it even though every bite tasted like betrayal. "You seem better tonight," she said, studying me across the table. "Feel better." "That's good. The medications must be working." "Must be." After dinner, we watched Netflix on the couch, her head on my shoulder. Normal couple things. Except one of us was pretending to be dying and the other was pretending to care. Around 10, Jocelyn's phone rang. She looked at it and declined the call. "Who was that?" "Nobody. Telemarketer." But I'd seen the name on the screen. Derek. She went to bed early, claiming a headache. I stayed up, told her I wanted to finish the movie. But really, I was thinking, planning. At midnight, I heard her on the phone again. This time, I recorded it on my phone from the hallway. "Told you not to call the house. No, he doesn't suspect anything. The medications are working. He's getting weaker. Another few months maximum. The will is ironclad. Warren's story is holding. I love you too. I stood in the dark hallway, phone in hand, listening to my wife plan my death with her lover, the same woman who'd cried in Derek's office, who'd held my hand through fake tests, who'd kissed me goodbye every morning like she actually gave a damn. I went back downstairs and sat in the dark until dawn, replaying the recording. Each word was a nail in the coffin of my marriage, but also evidence, proof. When the sun came up, painting our living room in soft gold light, I made my decision. I wasn't going to die. I wasn't going to run. I was going to destroy them. Completely. Methodically. The way they'd tried to destroy me. Jocelyn came downstairs in her robe, yawning. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep." She kissed my forehead. Poor baby. Maybe we should ask Derek about sleeping pills. Maybe. She started making coffee, humming to herself. Happy. Why wouldn't she be? Her plan was working perfectly. "I love you," she said suddenly, turning to look at me. "I love you too," I lied. And in that moment, I understood something. We were both actors now, performing for an audience of one. The difference was, she didn't know I'd learned my lines, didn't know the play had changed, didn't know that the victim had become the hunter. "What are you thinking about?" she asked, bringing me coffee. "The future," I said. "What about it?" I looked at my wife, beautiful, treacherous, doomed, and smiled. "Just wondering how it's all going to end." She laughed, that bright sound that used to make me fall in love with her all over again. "Happily ever after," she said. Obviously. Obviously. But not for her. Not for them. For them, the ending was going to be something else entirely. I took a sip of coffee and started planning their destruction, one bitter swallow at a time. Chapter 5. The morning after I discovered the truth, I woke up next to a stranger. Jocelyn lay beside me, her auburn hair catching the early October sunlight, looking exactly like the woman I'd married. But now I knew what lived beneath that beautiful surface, a snake coiled and ready to strike. The hardest thing I'd ever done was lean over and kiss her forehead like nothing had changed. "Morning, sleepyhead," she murmured, stretching. "Morning. How'd you sleep?" "Like the dead," she said, and the irony nearly made me laugh. I shuffled to the bathroom, gripping the sink until my knuckles went white. In the mirror, a ghost stared back pale, hollow-eyed, supposedly dying of heart disease. But underneath that manufactured weakness, something else was emerging. Rage, cold and patient as winter. "Preston?" Jocelyn called. "Don't forget your morning pills." "Already took them," I lied, flushing the handful of poison down the toilet for the third day straight. Downstairs, she'd laid out my breakfast oatmeal with a side of deception. Low sodium for my condition. I ate mechanically, watching her buzz around the kitchen in her silk robe, humming some pop song. How many mornings had we spent like this? How many had been real? "I might be late tonight," she said, scrolling through her phone. Budget meeting. On a Saturday? She didn't even look up. Quarter end. You know how it is. I did now. Derek would probably be at that meeting. The kind held in hotel rooms where the only numbers they discussed were the months until I died. "Take it easy today," she said, kissing my cheek. "Maybe just rest, watch some TV." "Actually, I thought I'd visit Mom." Her hand paused on her coffee cup. "Is that wise? In your condition?" "She's my mother, Joss. I can't just disappear from her life." "Of course not. Just be careful. Don't overdo it." 20 minutes later, she was gone, leaving behind the scent of her perfume and the taste of betrayal in my mouth. The second her car turned the corner, I got to work. The house felt different when you were hunting for evidence instead of living in it. Every drawer might hold a secret. Every receipt could be proof. I started in her home office, the converted spare bedroom where she worked from home sometimes. Her desk was organized chaos, typical Jocelyn. Hospital spreadsheets, meeting notes, a coffee mug with lipstick stains. But underneath a stack of medical journals, I found something interesting. A credit card statement for an account I didn't know existed. The charges painted a picture. Hotel rooms in Toronto on dates she was supposedly visiting Warren. Restaurant bills for two. A jewelry store purchase for $3,800 around the time she'd shown up with that estate sale find necklace. My phone buzzed. Mom. You're up early, I said. Couldn't sleep. Preston, I'm worried about you. I'm fine, Mom. No, you're not. You look terrible. And that diagnosis, something's not right. Mothers always know, even when they don't know what they know. Can I come over? I was just heading your way, actually. Good. We need to talk. Bianca Thompson lived in the same North Buffalo house where I'd grown up, a 2-story colonial that smelled like coffee and determination. She met me at the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me into a hug that nearly broke me. My God, Preston, you look worse than last week. Thanks for the pep talk. I'm serious. She led me to the kitchen, her domain. Sit, talk. I sat at the same table where I'd done homework, where Dad had taught me chess, where we'd mourned him after the malpractice killed him. I need you to be careful with what I'm about to tell you, I said. Her eyes sharpened. My mother might be 70, but she was sharp as a surgeon's scalpel. It's about Jocelyn, isn't it? How did you... Preston Thompson, I changed your diapers. I know when something's eating at you, and that girl. I've held my tongue, but she's been different, colder. I pulled out my phone and showed her the credit card statement I'd photographed. Then the recording from the other night, Jocelyn's voice discussing my weakness with Derek. Mom's face went through a transformation shock, rage, then something scarier, cold fury. That bitch, she said, and I'd never heard her swear like that. That absolute bitch. Mom, no, Preston, this is attempted murder. We're calling the police right now. We can't, not yet. Why the hell not? Because I need more evidence. I need to catch them completely or they might slip away. Derek's a respected doctor. Jocelyn's smart. They'll have explanations for everything unless I'm thorough. She gripped my hands across the table. Then what do you need? I need you to be normal around Jocelyn. Can you do that? I can do whatever it takes to protect my son. That afternoon, I made another stop this time to a dingy office building downtown where my brother kept his side business. Corey did investment banking by day, but he also did favors for people who needed financial mysteries solved. Jesus, Preston, he said when I walked in. You look like death. That's the idea. I told him everything. Unlike Mom's rage, Corey's reaction was ice-cold calculation. The Warren Miller thing, that's wire fraud. Federal crime. The fake diagnosis? That's attempted murder, insurance fraud, probably 6 other felonies. He pulled up something on his computer. I've been tracking your withdrawals. Look at this. The screen showed a web of transactions. My money to Canada, then bouncing through 3 other accounts before landing in one registered to JT Enterprises. JT, I said. Jocelyn Thompson. She's not even trying that hard to hide it. Probably figured you'd never look, being sick and all. Can you freeze it? Not legally, but I can document everything. Create a paper trail so clear a blind prosecutor could follow it. Do it. He looked at me carefully. Preston, there's something else. I did some digging on Derek Lopez after you called. He's got a history. 2 malpractice settlements, both sealed. And get this, his ex-wife filed for divorce citing infidelity with a patient. A patient? The records are sealed, but the timing. It was right when he started at Buffalo General. Right when he met Jocelyn. The picture was getting clearer. Derek seduced married women, probably for money. Jocelyn fell for it, or maybe she was the seducer. Either way, they'd found each other 2 predators recognizing their own kind. I need you to do something else, I said. Can you trace Derek's finances? See if he's received any large deposits recently? Already on it. Give me a few days. And Corey? I need you to help me move some money around, quietly. The hidden accounts? I'd told Corey about my inheritance years ago, swearing him to secrecy. He'd helped me set up the offshore accounts, the trusts, the whole infrastructure of my hidden wealth. I need to protect it all. Make sure she can't touch a penny, no matter what happens. Consider it done. Preston? Yeah? We're going to bury them. That evening, I had one more visit to make. Sabrina Martin lived in a townhouse in Elmwood Village, all exposed brick and therapy books. She'd been Dad's friend, then Mom's, now mine. She was also the best therapist in Buffalo. Preston, she said, opening the door. Bianca called. Come in." Her living room was designed to make you feel safe, soft lighting, comfortable chairs, a box of tissues strategically placed on every surface. "Tell me everything," she said. So I did. Every detail, every discovery, every moment of rage and hurt and betrayal. She listened without interrupting, occasionally nodding, her face carefully neutral. "How do you feel?" she asked when I finished. "Like I'm drowning in anger." "That's normal, healthy even. They tried to kill you, Preston. Anger is appropriate. I want to destroy them." "Also normal. But here's what's important. You can't let the anger control you. It's a tool, not a master. Use it, but don't let it use you." "How?" "By staying focused on the goal. What do you want?" "Justice." "Not revenge?" I thought about it. "Maybe both." She smiled slightly. "At least you're honest. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to practice emotional control. When you face them in court, and you will, you need to be calm, credible, sympathetic. The victim, not the vengeful ex-husband. For the next hour, she coached me through breathing exercises, visualization techniques, ways to channel my rage into cold, calculated action. By the time I left, I felt more in control than I had in months. The drive home was surreal. Buffalo at dusk, all amber light and long shadows. Normal people living normal lives while I planned the destruction of two people I'd once trusted with everything. Jocelyn's car was in the driveway when I got home. The house glowed with warm light. From outside, we looked like the perfect couple in the perfect life. I sat in my car for a moment, practicing Sabrina's breathing exercises. Then I put on my mask, the dying husband, weak and trusting, and went inside. "There you are," Jocelyn called from the kitchen. "I was getting worried. Just visited Mom and Corey." She appeared in the doorway, wine glass in hand. "How are they?" "Worried about me?" "Of course they are." She came over, touched my face with fake tenderness. "We all are. How are you feeling?" "Tired." "Let's get you to bed early tonight. You need rest." She helped me up the stairs, playing the devoted wife. In the bedroom, she handed me my pills and a glass of water, watching to make sure I took them. I'd gotten good at hiding them under my tongue, swallowing them later when she wasn't looking. "I love you," she said, kissing me goodnight. "I love you too." I lied. She fell asleep quickly, probably dreaming of her future with Derek, of the money she'd inherit, of the life she'd steal from my corpse. I lay awake, planning. Tomorrow, I'd search for the burner phone I knew she had hidden somewhere. I'd contact Jesse, my FBI cousin, and start the official investigation. I'd begin recording everything, building a case so airtight that Houdini couldn't escape it. The woman beside me shifted in her sleep, murmuring something. Derek's name, maybe. Or Warren's. Or some other lie she was living. I turned away from her, staring at the wall, counting down the days until I could stop pretending. Until I could drop this mask and show them both what happened when you tried to kill Preston Thompson. They thought they were predators, and I was prey. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Chapter 6. The knock on my car window nearly gave me a heart attack, a real one, not the fake condition Derek had diagnosed. I was parked outside Buffalo General, watching the employee exit like some kind of stalker. Which I guess I was, technically. 3 days of surveillance, documenting Jocelyn's actual schedule versus the one she gave me. So far, 6 budget meetings that ended with her and Derek leaving separately, but within minutes of each other. The woman at my window wore scrubs and a concerned expression. Ariel Wilson, the nurse I'd met at the gallery months ago. "Mr. Thompson, are you okay?" I rolled down the window. "Hi, Ariel." "I'm fine." "No offense, but you don't look fine. You look like you're about to pass out." "It's been a rough few weeks." She glanced around the parking garage, then surprised me. "Can I get in? We need to talk." I unlocked the passenger door. She slid in, bringing the smell of hospital antiseptic and something else determination. "I know what they're doing to you," she said without preamble. My heart actually did skip then. "What?" "Dr. Lopez and your wife. I know about the false diagnosis." The parking garage suddenly felt like it was spinning. "How?" "I've been a cardiac nurse for 15 years. I've seen your test results, the real ones, not the doctored versions Derek filed. Your heart is perfectly healthy, Mr. Thompson, always has been. You saw the original tests? She pulled out her phone, showed me photos, EKG readings, blood work, echo results, all dated from my initial appointment with Derek, all showing normal results. I made copies before Derek altered them in the system. I wasn't sure what to do with them, but then I heard you'd retired, heard you were dying, and I couldn't stay quiet anymore. Why help me? Because what they're doing is evil. And because... She paused, choosing her words. I've seen them together, after hours, the way they look at each other when they think no one's watching. Your wife isn't working late, Mr. Thompson. She's with him. I know. You know? I figured it out recently. I'm building a case against them. Relief flooded her face. Thank God. I thought I was going to have to convince you, and that's never easy. People don't want to believe that their wife and doctor are trying to murder them. Yeah, it took me a while to get there. What do you need from me? Would you testify if this goes to court? Absolutely. But Mr. Thompson, there's more. Derek's done this before. The malpractice suits? Not just those. There was a woman 2 years ago before your wife. Another administrator. Married, wealthy. She died of a sudden heart attack. Derek was her doctor. The implications hit like a sledgehammer. He killed her? I can't prove it, but she was healthy as a horse 6 months before she died. Then Derek started treating her for a heart condition. Sound familiar? Jesus Christ. Her husband inherited everything. Then he donated a large sum to the cardiac wing. Derek got a promotion and a bonus. And nobody questioned it? She had a family history of heart disease. It seemed plausible. But now, seeing what he's doing to you? My phone rang. Jesse Garcia, my FBI cousin. I need to take this, I told Ariel. But thank you. Can I call you later? Anytime. She handed me a card with her personal number. Be careful, Mr. Thompson. They're dangerous. After she left, I answered Jesse's call. Preston, where are you? Hospital parking garage. Get to my office. Now. I found something. The FBI field office in downtown Buffalo looked like any other government building, beige and serious. Jesse met me in the lobby, his face grim. Conference room 3, he said, leading the way. Spread across the table were bank records, photographs, and what looked like death certificates. Warren Miller died in 2009, Jesse said. Car accident in Manitoba. Your wife stole a dead man's identity to create her fake cousin. I knew that part. Here's what you didn't know. The account you've been sending money to, it's connected to 6 other similar accounts, all fake names, all receiving medical donations from other sources. Other victims? 3 that I've found so far. 2 are executives at the hospital, 1's a pharmaceutical rep. All told, Derek and Jocelyn are pulling in about 30 grand a month in various scams. 30,000 a month? Your 5,000 is just part of it. They're running a whole operation. Fake charities, false medical billing, insurance fraud. Preston, this is organized crime. I sank into a chair. How long? Based on the records, at least 2 years, maybe longer. Since before she started the affair. Jesse's face darkened. Actually, about that. I pulled Derek's phone records. He and Jocelyn have been in contact since 2014, the year we got married. She's been with him our entire marriage? Maybe not physically, but they've been in communication. Hundreds of texts, calls. It intensified about 18 months ago, around the time she started working late. The timeline made sense now, a slow burn that caught fire when they decided I was worth more dead than alive. We need to move on this, Jesse said. With what we have. Not yet. I want them to hang themselves completely. No plea deals, no reduced sentences. I want them buried. Preston, you're playing with fire. These people are trying to kill you. They're trying. They're not succeeding. That evening, I had dinner with Corey at a quiet restaurant in Williamsville. He'd texted that he had news. Derek Lopez is broke, he said over steaks. Or was, until recently. Broke? Gambling debts, expensive tastes, 2 alimonies. The guy was drowning. Then suddenly, 6 months ago, he pays everything off. Buys a condo in Toronto. New Mercedes. The Warren Miller money. That's just part of it. Corey pulled out his tablet, showing me spreadsheets. I traced 17 large deposits to his accounts. All from different sources, but all routing through the same offshore bank. Jocelyn's handling the money. She's smart, keeping it separated, layered, but not smart enough. There's a pattern. Every deposit to Derek happens within 48 hours of a withdrawal from one of the medical accounts. That's proof of conspiracy. It's proof of something. But Preston, there's something else. Something worse. Worse than attempted murder? Corey looked around, then leaned in. I found a life insurance policy, $2 million, taken out on you 6 months ago. I never. Jocelyn forged your signature. She's been paying the premiums from the Warren Miller account. The room seemed to tilt. She's betting on my death. Within the year, based on the policy terms. Double payout if it's from a pre-existing condition. Like heart disease. Exactly like heart disease. I pushed my plate away, appetite gone. How much evidence do we need? We have enough for arrests, but for convictions? For the sentences they deserve? We need them on tape discussing it. We need the smoking gun. Then I'll get it. That night, Jocelyn was especially attentive. She'd made my favorite dinner chicken parmesan, though a heart-healthy version that tasted like cardboard. She'd lit candles, opened wine she knew I couldn't drink with my medications. What's the occasion? I asked. Can't a wife just want a nice dinner with her husband? Of course. She smiled, but something was off. A nervousness in her eyes. Preston, we need to talk about the future. Here it comes, I thought. Your condition is getting worse. We should probably update your will. My will? Just to be safe. Make sure everything is in order. I've made an appointment with a lawyer for next week. That seems premature. Does it? You can barely walk up the stairs. You sleep 16 hours a day. Preston, we have to be realistic. The sympathy in her voice was Oscar-worthy. If I didn't know better, I'd believe she actually cared. You're right, I said. We should be prepared. Relief flooded her face. I knew you'd understand. And Preston? I think we should consider giving me full power of attorney, medical and financial, just in case you become unable to make decisions. That's a big step. I'm your wife. Who else would you trust? Who else indeed? Let me think about it. She reached across the table, took my hand. Hers was cold. I know this is hard, but I'm here for you. Till death do us part, remember? I remember. After dinner, she went to take a call. Hospital business, she said, but I heard her laugh, that intimate laugh reserved for lovers. When she came back, her lipstick was freshly applied. I might need to run to the hospital for an hour, she said. Emergency with the cardiac wing budget. At 9 p.m.? You know how it is. I did now. Be careful driving, I said. She kissed my forehead. Always am. Don't wait up. The second her car left, I went hunting. The burner phone had to be here somewhere. I'd already searched the obvious places: her office, dresser, bathroom. But Jocelyn was smart. She'd hide it somewhere I wouldn't think to look, or somewhere she thought I couldn't reach. The attic stairs were supposedly too much for my weak heart. She'd even offered to get the Christmas decorations down herself this year. You shouldn't strain yourself. The attic was dusty and cramped. Boxes of our life together, wedding photos, vacation souvenirs, lies stacked on lies. And there, tucked behind a box labeled Preston's father's things, which she knew I'd never touch, was a small black phone. The text history was a goldmine. He took the increased dose, getting weaker. Jocelyn, good. Timeline still on track? Derek, 2 months maximum. Jocelyn, can't wait to stop pretending. Derek, me either. Love you. Jocelyn, love you too. Soon, baby. Derek, there were dozens more. Details about my medication, my symptoms, their plans for after I was gone. Discussions about the life insurance, the will, how to make my death look natural. I photographed everything, my hands shaking with rage. Then I found the email account linked to the phone. More evidence receipts for hotels, flights to Toronto, when she was supposedly in Vancouver, lingerie purchases, and photos. Dozens of photos of them together, in bed, in Toronto, in his office. One was dated the night of our anniversary last year. I'd been home with the flu. She'd said she had to work. I put the phone back exactly where I found it and went downstairs. In the bathroom, I vomited until there was nothing left. Then I sat on the cold tile floor and let myself feel it all, the betrayal, the rage, the humiliation, but also, underneath it all, a cold satisfaction. I had them now. I had everything. Tomorrow, I'd call Jesse and Valerie Brown, the DA. Tomorrow, we'd start planning the trap that would destroy them both. Tonight, I'd sleep next to my would-be killer one more time, knowing that her days of freedom were numbered. When Jocelyn came home at midnight, smelling like Derek's cologne, I pretended to be asleep. She slid into bed beside me, humming softly. "Sweet dreams, Preston," she whispered. "You too," I thought but didn't say, because her dreams were about to become nightmares. Chapter 7. The plan came together in a windowless room in the federal building, 4 floors underground where even cell phones couldn't reach. Jesse called it the vault, and it felt like one thick concrete walls that seemed to absorb sound and secrets equally. District Attorney Valerie Brown sat across from me, her dark eyes sharp as surgical instruments. She'd reviewed everything: the fake medical records, the Warren Miller fraud, the insurance policy, the photos from the burner phone. "This is enough for arrests," she said. "More than enough." "But," I could hear it in her voice, "but Derek Lopez has excellent lawyers. He'll claim the medical diagnosis was an honest mistake. Jocelyn will say the cousin story was real, that she was scammed, too. They'll point fingers at each other, muddy the waters. They're guilty. I know that. You know that. But a jury needs to be convinced beyond reasonable doubt. What we need is them discussing the conspiracy explicitly. Real-time evidence of intent." Jesse leaned forward. "We could wire Preston." "Too dangerous," Valerie said immediately. "If they discover it—" "They won't," I interrupted. "They think I'm dying. They think they've already won." Valerie studied me. "You'd be willing to wear a wire?" "I'd be willing to do whatever it takes." "There's another option," Jesse said. "Marked bills. We continue the Warren payments but use traceable currency. When Jocelyn deposits it into her account, we have direct proof she's stealing. That's fraud, not attempted murder." "No, but it's leverage. We arrest her for the fraud, and she might flip on Derek for the murder plot." I shook my head. "They're in love. She won't flip." "Love?" Valerie laughed bitterly. "Mr. Thompson, people like this don't love. They use. And when the prison doors are staring them in the face, they'll sell each other out faster than you can blink." "Maybe. But I want both of them. Equally." Valerie and Jesse exchanged glances. "There's a third option," Valerie said slowly. "We stage a scenario. Get them both to your house for a medical consultation. You wear a wire, ask the right questions, get them to incriminate themselves. Would that work? If you can act sick enough, if you can provoke them into discussing the plan. I've been acting for months. I can do it." We spent the next 3 hours choreographing my performance. What to say, what questions to ask, how to push their buttons without raising suspicion. By the time we finished, I felt like an actor preparing for the role of a lifetime, which, in a way, I was. The next morning, I called Jocelyn at work. "Honey, I'm not feeling well. Worse than usual. What's wrong?" Her concern sounded almost real. "Chest pains, shortness of breath. I'm scared." "I'm calling Derek right now." "Could he come to the house? I don't think I can make it to the hospital." "Of course. I'll bring him myself. We'll be there in an hour." "Thank you. I love you." "I love you too. Just hang on." I hung up and looked at Jesse, who was setting up recording equipment in my living room. "She sounded worried," he said. "Worried I might die before she can cash in." We hid microphones in the lamp, the coffee table, behind the TV. Jesse would be in a van outside, listening to everything. 2 other agents were positioned nearby in case things went south. "Remember," Jesse said, strapping the wire to my chest, "we need explicit discussion of the conspiracy. Get them to talk about the fake diagnosis, the poison medications, the insurance." "I know. And Preston?" "If you feel threatened at any point, say the word comfortable, and we'll move in." "Got it." "You sure you want to do this?" "They tried to kill me, Jesse." "Yeah, I'm sure." He left through the back door just as Jocelyn's car pulled into the driveway. I positioned myself on the couch, trying to look as pathetic as possible. Not hard. considering I'd stopped shaving and barely slept in days. They came in together, Jocelyn rushing to my side while Derek followed with his medical bag. The perfect concerned wife and doctor. If I didn't know better, I'd be touched. "Preston, honey, what happened?" Jocelyn knelt beside me, taking my hand. "I don't know. It just hit me. The chest pain is. God, it's bad." Derek was already pulling out his stethoscope. "Let me examine you." His hands on my chest made my skin crawl, but I endured it. He listened to my heart, took my blood pressure, went through the motions of caring. "Your heart rate is elevated," he said. "Have you been taking your medications?" "Every day. But Derek, they make me feel worse, not better." "That's normal with your condition." "Is it? Because I've been thinking maybe I should get a second opinion." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "A second opinion?" Jocelyn's voice was carefully neutral. "Not that I don't trust you, Derek, but this is my life we're talking about." Derek's jaw tightened. "Preston, I understand you're scared, but changing doctors now could be fatal. Your condition is precisely balanced. Any disruption to your treatment plan could kill me?" "Yes." "How long do I have?" "Really?" Derek and Jocelyn exchanged a glance. "It's hard to say," Derek said carefully. "Weeks? Months? Perhaps 2 months, maybe less." Jesus. I buried my face in my hands. "I need to get my affairs in order, the will, the insurance." "We've already discussed that," Jocelyn said quickly. "The appointment is next week." "No, I mean, I should probably review our finances. Make sure you're taken care of." "Preston, don't talk like that." "I have to. Jaws, I haven't been entirely honest with you." Both of them tensed. "What do you mean?" Jocelyn asked. "I have some money set aside, investments. Not much, but maybe 100,000. I watched greed flicker across both their faces. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jocelyn's voice had an edge now. "I wanted to surprise you. For our anniversary. But now—" "Where is this money?" Derek asked, then caught himself. "I mean, you should ensure it's properly allocated." "It's in a private account. I was thinking of transferring it to our joint account, making things easier for Jaws when—" "That's smart," Jocelyn said quickly. "Very smart. But I'm worried," I continued. "What if there's something else wrong with me? What if the diagnosis is wrong?" "It's not wrong," Derek said firmly. Too firmly. "How can you be so sure?" "Because I've seen your tests. The heart muscle deterioration is clear." "Could I see them?" "The tests?" "They're at the hospital." "But you must have copies." Derek was getting agitated. "Preston, you need to trust me. I've been treating you for months. Have I ever given you reason to doubt?" "No, but these medications." Derek, level with me. "Are they really helping? Or are they just prolonging the inevitable? They're managing your symptoms, but not curing anything. There is no cure for what you have. Which is, we've been over this. Tell me again, exactly what's killing me." Derek sighed dramatically. "Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy with progressive ventricular dysfunction. Your heart is failing, Preston. The medications are keeping you alive. For now?" "Yes, for now." "And after I'm gone, what happens to Jocelyn?" They exchanged another glance. "I'll be alone," Jocelyn said, tears starting. "Devastated." "But financially? You'll be okay? The insurance will pay out?" "Preston, stop talking like this. I need to know you'll be taken care of. Both of you, actually. Derek, you've been so good to us. I should leave you something in the will." Derek held up his hands. "That's not necessary." "No, I insist. You've gone above and beyond. All those house calls, the special attention. Some doctors would just let a patient deteriorate, maybe even hasten things along to free up resources." The room went silent. "No ethical doctor would ever do that," Derek said stiffly. "Of course not. But hypothetically, if someone wanted to, how would they do it?" "Preston, this is a morbid conversation. Humor me. I'm dying. I'm curious about the process." Derek shifted uncomfortably. "Well, hypothetically, one might prescribe medications that mimic or exacerbate symptoms. Beta blockers and calcium channel blockers in the wrong combination can cause heart failure symptoms." "Really? And no one would notice?" "The symptoms would match the supposed disease. Without careful testing, it would be almost impossible to detect." Fascinating. And the patient would never know? They'd trust their doctor, Derek said, then seemed to realize what he'd said. Of course. Trust. That's what it all comes down to, isn't it? Preston, you're scaring me, Jocelyn said. Why are you asking these questions? I'm sorry. I'm angry. At the situation. At my body for failing. At the unfairness of it all. We understand, Jocelyn said, squeezing my hand. We're angry too. Are you? Or are you relieved? What? Nothing. I'm rambling. The medications make my head fuzzy. Maybe we should adjust them, Derek suggested. Make them stronger, if necessary. To speed things along? Derek's face darkened. To manage your symptoms. Right. Manage? That's a nice word for it. Preston, I'm sorry I'm not myself. This whole situation with Warren has me thinking about mortality. Jocelyn stiffened. Warren? Your cousin, with cancer. I've been sending him money for months and I've never even met him. Do you think he'd want to meet me? Before I die? He's too sick to travel. Maybe I could video call him? See where my money's going? The treatments have left him unable to communicate much. That's convenient. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that it's convenient I can't verify, meet him. The tension in the room was electric now. Are you suggesting something? Jocelyn's voice had gone cold. Should I be? My cousin is dying. So am I, apparently. A lot of that going around. Derek stood abruptly. I think we should increase your sedatives. You're clearly agitated. I don't want more drugs. It's for your own good. Is it? Or is it for yours? What the hell is that supposed to mean? You tell me, Derek. You're the one sleeping with my wife. The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Jocelyn gasped. Preston. Oh, drop the act. I know about Toronto. I know about the hotel rooms. I know about everything. Derek's hand went to his medical bag, and for a moment I wondered if he had something worse than medication in there. You're paranoid, he said. The medications can cause delusions. The medications are poison, and we all know it. Preston, you're sick, Jocelyn said, but her mask was slipping. No, I'm not. My heart is fine. The tests you showed me were fake. The cousin with cancer doesn't exist. This whole thing is a scam to kill me for insurance money. Derek laughed, but it sounded forced. That's insane. Is it? Then you won't mind if I call the FBI? If I have the medications tested? If I get that second opinion? You're having a psychotic break, Derek said. Jocelyn, we need to get him to the hospital. For what? To finish the job? Preston, please, Jocelyn said. And for the first time, she looked genuinely scared. You're not making sense. Then explain it to me. Explain why you've been stealing my money. Explain why you're trying to kill me. We're not. Just admit it, I shouted. For once in your miserable lives, just tell the truth. Derek grabbed his bag. We're leaving. Go ahead. Run. But know this, I've documented everything. Every fake payment to Warren. Every altered medical record. Every text between you two planning my murder. Derek froze. That's right, I found the burner phone, Jocelyn. I have photos of everything. Jocelyn's face had gone white. Preston, how could you? I loved you. I would have given you everything. You gave me nothing, she exploded. 5 years of scrimping and saving, living in this mediocre house, driving used cars, shopping sales. I deserved better. So you decided to kill me? It was Derek's idea. Shut up, Derek snapped. But Jocelyn was past caring. He said it would be easy, that you were weak, trusting, that the medications would make it look natural. Joss, Derek warned. What? He knows anyway. Yes, Preston, we're trying to kill you. Happy? Your heart is fine. The drugs are killing you slowly, and in a few weeks you'll have a fatal heart attack that no one will question. Why? Because I'm tired of being poor. Because Derek showed me what life could really be like. Because you're worth more dead than alive. There it was, the confession, delivered with such venom that even Derek stepped back from her. I never loved you, she continued. I thought you had potential, but you were content being nobody. Do you know how embarrassing it was? My husband, the security guard? Each word was a knife, but I forced myself to stay calm. And Warren? Doesn't exist, never did. That money went straight to our account, our future. How much was my life worth to you? 2 million in insurance, plus whatever you had saved. Enough to start over. Together. I looked at Derek. He shrugged. Why not? We deserve happiness. At the cost of my life? You were barely living anyway, Derek said coldly. Working nights, hoarding your pennies. We did you a favor. By poisoning me? By giving you purpose. Your death would have meant something, our freedom. I couldn't help it. I laughed. What's so funny? Jocelyn demanded. You are, both of you. You thought you were so smart, but you missed the biggest joke of all. What joke? I stood up slowly, no longer playing sick. I'm worth $2.3 billion. The silence was deafening. What? Jocelyn whispered. Billion. With a B, hidden in trusts and offshore accounts you never knew about. If you'd just been a decent wife, if you'd actually loved me, you'd have shared in all of it. Instead, you tried to kill me for pocket change. Jocelyn's legs gave out. She collapsed onto the couch, the full weight of her catastrophic miscalculation crushing her. You're lying, Derek said, but uncertainty crept into his voice. My aunt left me one of the largest private art collections in North America. I hid it because I wanted to be loved for myself, not my money. Congratulations, you proved people are exactly as horrible as I feared. That's when I said it. I think everyone would be more comfortable if we ended this conversation now. The door burst open. FBI agents flooded in, weapons drawn. Jesse led them, his face grim and satisfied. Jocelyn Thompson, Derek Lopez, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, and insurance fraud. Derek tried to run. He made it 3 steps before an agent tackled him. Jocelyn didn't move. She stared at me with a mixture of shock, rage, and something else, perhaps the realization that she'd played herself. You knew, she said as they cuffed her. This whole time, you knew. Not the whole time, but long enough. I hate you. I know. But here's the thing, Jose. I don't hate you, I pity you. You had everything and threw it away for nothing. As they led her out, she turned back one last time. Was any of it real? Did you ever actually love me? I thought about lying, giving her that final kindness, but she'd tried to kill me. Every moment, I said, right until you poisoned me. She sobbed as they put her in the car. Derek went quietly, his face a mask of cold fury. No last words, no dramatic proclamations, just a man watching his carefully constructed life crumble. Jesse approached me as the cars pulled away. You did good, Preston. Academy Award worthy. I wasn't acting at the end. I know. We stood in my empty living room, the hidden microphone still recording nothing. What happens now? I asked. Now we build an airtight case. With the confession on tape, they're finished. And after that? After that, you get your life back. I looked around the house where I'd been slowly murdered by the person I trusted most. Yeah, I said. Maybe I'll buy a new one. Chapter 8. The story broke on the 6 o'clock news. I sat in my empty living room, the TV casting blue light across furniture that still held the ghost impressions of where FBI equipment had been just hours before. Channel 4's anchor, Patricia Wells, delivered the news with that perfect blend of shock and professional composure. Breaking tonight, a prominent Buffalo cardiologist and hospital administrator have been arrested in what authorities are calling an elaborate conspiracy to murder. Dr. Derek Lopez and Jocelyn Thompson were taken into custody this afternoon. My phone hadn't stopped ringing since. Mom called first, then Corey, then numbers I didn't recognize, reporters probably. I let them all go to voicemail. On screen, they showed Derek's Mercedes being towed from the hospital parking lot. Then Jocelyn's mugshot filled the frame, her eyes red and puffy, her usually perfect hair disheveled. She looked nothing like the woman who'd kissed me goodbye that morning, promising we'd grow old together. The alleged victim, Preston Thompson, could not be reached for comment. I clicked the TV off. The silence that followed was deafening. My phone buzzed. A text from Jesse. You holding up? Define holding up, I replied. Press is going to be brutal tomorrow. You need to prepare a statement. He was right. By morning, this would be everywhere. The security guard who brought down a doctor, the husband who exposed his wife's murder plot, the dying man who wasn't dying at all. I walked through our house like a stranger. Everything looked different now. The kitchen where Jocelyn had carefully measured out my poison each morning, the bedroom where she'd lain beside me, planning my death, the couch where Derek had sat just yesterday, reinforcing his false diagnosis while calculating how much longer until his scheme paid off. A knock at the door made me jump. Through the peephole, I saw Eddie, my old supervisor from the gallery. "Preston, I know you're in there. I saw the news." I opened the door. Eddie stood there holding a six-pack of beer and looking like he'd seen a ghost. "Jesus Christ, man," he said, pulling me into a bear hug. "I thought you were dying." So did I. We sat on my porch watching the street fill up with news vans. Every few minutes, another reporter would approach the house, only to be turned away by the police officer Jesse had stationed outside. 3 months, Eddie said, shaking his head. "You've been gone 3 months, and the whole time they were poisoning me. Derek Lopez. I had him as my cardiologist after my heart attack 2 years ago." Eddie's face went pale. "Do you think?" "I don't know. But you should get checked by someone else. Already made an appointment for tomorrow." He took a long pull from his beer. "Your wife, though. How do you process something like that?" "You don't," I said honestly. "You just survive it." The next morning came too fast and not fast enough. By 7 a.m., my lawn looked like a media circus. Cameras, microphones, reporters practicing their stand-ups using my house as a backdrop. Valerie Brown had arranged for me to give a statement at her office, away from the chaos. Jesse drove me there in an unmarked car, taking back roads to avoid the press. "You ready for this?" he asked. "Do I have a choice?" You always have a choice. But speaking now, controlling the narrative, that's your best move. Valerie's office was all dark wood and legal books, the kind of place where justice felt like more than just a word. She'd prepared a statement for me, but I'd written my own. "You sure about this?" she asked, reading my version. "I'm sure." The press room was packed. Every local station, some national outlets, newspapers, online media. The moment I walked in, cameras started clicking like hungry insects. I stood at the podium, my hands steady despite everything. "My name is Preston Thompson," I began. 3 months ago, I was diagnosed with a fatal heart condition by Dr. Derek Lopez. My wife, Jocelyn, stood by my side as I received this news. She held my hand. She cried with me. She promised to take care of me. The room was silent except for the whir of cameras. The diagnosis was fake. The medications Dr. Lopez prescribed were slowly poisoning me. And my wife, the woman I trusted with my life, was his accomplice. They conspired to murder me for insurance money, for financial gain, for their own future together. I paused, looking directly into the main camera. But I survived. Thanks to the dedication of the FBI, the courage of a nurse named Ariel Wilson who came forward, and the support of my family, I'm standing here today, alive, healthy, and committed to seeing justice served. "Mr. Thompson," a reporter called out, "how did you discover the conspiracy?" "I overheard a phone conversation between my wife and Dr. Lopez. They were discussing my deteriorating condition and their timeline for my death." "Will you be suing the hospital?" "My focus right now is on criminal justice and healing. Any civil matters will be addressed later." "Do you still love your wife?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Every reporter leaned forward. "I love the woman I thought I married," I said carefully. "That woman never existed." After the press conference, I went to Mom's house. She'd made lunch soup and sandwiches, comfort food. Corey was there too, having taken the day off work. "You did good," Mom said, squeezing my shoulder. "Your father would be proud." "Would he?" "You exposed corruption in the medical system. You stood up to people who thought they could play God. Yes, he would be proud." We ate in comfortable silence, the TV muted but showing continuous coverage of the story. Every channel had their own spin. Deadly Diagnosis on Channel 4. Hearts and Lies on Channel 7. Fatal Attraction on the national news. "It's surreal," Corey said. "Seeing your life turned into entertainment. Everything's surreal now." My phone rang. It was Ariel Wilson. "Preston?" I wanted to check on you. The hospital is. It's chaos here. I can imagine. They're reviewing all of Derek's cases from the last 5 years. There might be other victims. God. And Preston? Jocelyn's been placed on suicide watch. I thought you should know. I didn't know how to feel about that. Part of me still remembered the woman who'd danced with me at our wedding, who'd laughed at my bad jokes, who'd held me when Dad died. That woman and the one who'd tried to kill me, were they the same person? Had they always been? Thanks for telling me, I said. Take care of yourself. This is far from over. She was right. That evening, Jesse called with an update. They're both talking, he said, trying to cut deals. Let me guess, blaming each other? Derek says Jocelyn seduced him into it. Jocelyn says Derek manipulated her. Classic prisoner's dilemma. What are they offering? Derek's given up 2 other schemes he was running, fake billing, prescription fraud. Jocelyn's provided evidence of Derek's offshore accounts. They're racing to see who can bury the other deeper. Love is grand, isn't it? Preston, there's something else. Jocelyn's asking to see you. No. She says she wants to apologize. No. You sure? Might give you closure. Jesse, she looked me in the eye every morning and gave me poison disguised as medicine. She held my hand while I thought I was dying. She made love to me while planning my funeral. What could she possibly say that would give me closure? Fair enough. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked through my neighborhood, noting how differently people looked at me now. Some with pity, some with curiosity, some with that uncomfortable awe reserved for people who'd survived something unthinkable. Mrs. Patterson from 2 houses down actually crossed the street to avoid me, but Tom from the corner house stopped me. Preston, I just wanted to say, my wife went through something similar. Not attempted murder, but betrayal, if you ever need to talk. Thanks, Tom. The hardest part, he said, looking at his own house where warm light spilled from the windows, is learning to trust again, not just others, but your own judgment. He was right. How had I missed it? How had I lived with someone for 5 years and not seen what they were capable of? Every memory now felt suspect, every moment potentially false. Back home, I found a package on my doorstep. No return address. Inside was a single photo, Jocelyn and me on our honeymoon in Niagara Falls. We looked so happy, so young, so naive. On the back, in Jocelyn's handwriting, this was real. I stared at those 3 words for a long time. Then I lit a match and watched the photo burn in my sink, our smiling faces curling into ash and smoke. Maybe it had been real once. Maybe in that moment, standing by the falls with spray on our faces and rings fresh on our fingers, she'd actually loved me. Or maybe she'd been calculating my worth even then. I'd never know. And that, more than anything else, was what she'd stolen from me, not just my trust in her, but my trust in my own history. Every good memory was now poisoned, every happy moment suspect. The news had called it attempted murder. But in a way, she had killed someone, the person I used to be, the one who believed in love without question, who trusted without doubt, who gave his heart completely. That Preston Thompson was dead. The question now was, who would I become? Chapter 9. The hospital looked different from the outside, same gray stone, same revolving doors, but now it felt like a crime scene, which technically it was. 3 days after the arrests, Buffalo General called an emergency board meeting, open to the public. The CEO, Richard Hartley, personally called to invite me. Mr. Thompson, your presence would be appreciated. The community needs to see accountability. So there I sat in the 3rd row of their auditorium, surrounded by reporters, patients' rights advocates, and curious staff members who whispered behind their hands when they thought I wasn't looking. Ladies and gentlemen, Hartley began, his voice echoing through the room, we have failed you. What followed was 40 minutes of corporate contrition, new oversight protocols, mandatory ethics training, a complete review of all cardiac department procedures. The words washed over me like white noise until one announcement made me sit up. We're establishing the Thompson Protocol, a system of checks and balances to ensure no single physician can falsify diagnoses without peer review. They named it after me, like I was dead, like I was a cautionary tale. After the meeting, a woman approached me in the hallway. mid-40s, tired eyes, holding a folder thick with papers. "Mr. Thompson, I'm Linda Morrison. My husband was Derek Lopez's patient." "Was? He died 6 months ago. Heart failure." She opened the folder, showing me medical records. "But after seeing your story, I had another doctor review his files. The medications Derek prescribed, they weren't for his condition. They made it worse." "Jesus, I'm sorry." "We're exhuming his body, having an autopsy done." Her voice cracked. "He was only 52. She wasn't the only one. Over the next week, 17 families came forward with suspicions about Derek's treatment. The FBI set up a dedicated hotline. By week 2, they had over 100 calls. Jesse kept me updated during our coffee meetings at a diner downtown, away from the media circus. "Derek's looking at additional murder charges," he said, sliding a file across the table. "3 confirmed so far, all wealthy patients, all died within a year of diagnosis. He was a serial killer in a white coat." That's exactly what he was. And Jocelyn. "What about her?" "She's trying to claim she didn't know about the others, says she only knew about your case." "Bullshit." "That's what we think too. We found emails on her work computer. She helped Derek access patient financial records, identifying targets." My coffee tasted like acid. "How many?" "We're still counting." That afternoon, divorce papers arrived by courier. I signed them in my lawyer's office, Jonathan Cross, who'd handled my father's malpractice case years ago. "Given the prenuptial agreement and the circumstances, this should be straightforward," he said. "She's not contesting anything. Can't really from jail." "What about her personal belongings?" "You can have them removed and placed in storage or donate them. Everything." "Are you sure? Some items might have sentimental—" "There's nothing sentimental left." But that wasn't entirely true. That night, before the donation truck came, I went through her things one last time. Her jewelry box, full of pieces I now knew were bought with blood money. Her closet, those designer clothes funded by fraud. Her desk, where she'd planned my death between scheduling meetings. In her nightstand drawer, I found something that stopped me cold: a pregnancy test. Positive. Dated a week before my diagnosis. I sat on the floor, staring at that little plus sign. Had she known? Was she pregnant when she decided to kill me? Or was this from after, with Derek? I'd never know, and maybe that was better. My phone rang. Sabrina Martin, my therapist. "Preston, you missed our appointment today." "Sorry, I'm going through her things." "That's not something you should do alone." "I'm coming over." She arrived 20 minutes later, took one look at me holding that pregnancy test, and gently took it from my hands. "This isn't your burden to carry," she said. "But what if—" No what ifs. What if is how we torture ourselves with alternate realities that never existed. Focus on what is. You survived. You're free. You're safe. Am I? Every morning I still check my food, test my drinks. I installed new locks, cameras, an alarm system. I don't feel safe. I feel like I'm waiting for the next betrayal. That's PTSD, Preston. It's normal after what you've been through. Nothing about this is normal. We sat in my bedroom, surrounded by boxes of Jocelyn's life, while Sabrina helped me process what couldn't be processed. "She called it love," I said. "In the interrogation transcripts Jesse showed me, she said she loved Derek so much she was willing to do anything for him." "That's not love. That's obsession. Possession. Love doesn't require human sacrifice." "Then what was our marriage?" "I can't answer that. Only you can decide what was real and what wasn't." The next morning, more news broke. Derek's ex-wife, Patricia, went on Channel 7 with her story. "He was charming at first," she said, her face composed but her hands shaking. "Attentive, romantic. But then came the life insurance policies, the sudden illness that doctors couldn't explain. I got lucky my sister is a pharmacist. She recognized the symptoms of poisoning." The interviewer leaned forward. "You believe he tried to kill you?" "I know he did, but I couldn't prove it then. The divorce was my escape." "Do you have any words for Preston Thompson?" Patricia looked directly into the camera. "You're not his first, but because of your courage, you'll be his last." The interview went viral. Believe Preston Thompson started trending. Support groups for medical fraud victims reached out. Movie producers called. I hung up on all of them. But the strangest call came from Vancouver. Mr. Thompson, this is Margaret Miller. I think your wife used my son's identity. Warren Miller? Yes, he died in 2009. Car accident. He was 26. Her voice was steady but sad. I've been following your case. The photos they showed of the fake Warren, that was from his Facebook memorial page. I'm so sorry. Don't be. I'm just glad someone finally stopped her. But Mr. Thompson, I wanted you to know the real Warren was a good person, a teacher. He helped kids with learning disabilities. His death was a tragedy, but what they did with his name, that's the real crime. After we hung up, I did something I hadn't done since this all started. I cried, not for myself, but for all the collateral damage. Warren Miller, whose memory was violated, Linda Morrison's husband, Patricia Lopez, all the patients who trusted Derek, all the families destroyed by greed. That evening, Corey brought Chinese food, and we ate in front of the TV, trying to avoid the news. Impossible. Every channel had updates. They're going to take plea deals, he said during a commercial. You think? 20 to life is better than life without parole. Their lawyers would be idiots not to push for it. I don't care anymore. I just want it over. No, you don't. You want them to pay. He was right. I did want them to pay. But more than that, I wanted to understand. How did two people convince themselves that murder was acceptable? How did they look at me, a human being, someone they knew, someone Jocelyn had promised to love and see only dollar signs? My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Preston, it's Ariel. New phone, the media won't stop calling my old one. Wanted you to know Derek's medical license was formally revoked today. Small victory, but still. I texted back, thank you, for everything. You would have figured it out eventually. I just sped things up. You saved my life. You saved your own life. I just helped. That night, unable to sleep again, I did what I'd been avoiding. I Googled myself, hundreds of articles, thousands of comments, some supportive, some skeptical, some downright cruel. He had to know. No one's that oblivious. Gold digger got what she deserved. This is what happens when you marry outside your class. Fake story. Crisis actors. I closed the laptop, feeling sick. This was my life now public property, subject to judgment from strangers who knew nothing but felt entitled to everything. A soft knock at my door made me jump. Through the peephole, Mom, holding a casserole dish. It's midnight, Mom, and you're awake. Let me in. She heated up the food while I made tea, neither of us mentioning the elephant in the room until she finally said it. Your father would have known how to handle this. Dad never had his wife try to murder him. No, but he had the medical system fail him, betray him, kill him. She stirred her tea thoughtfully. The difference is, you got justice. He never did. Is this justice? They're alive, living in cells, but alive. Dad's dead. But their victims have a voice now, because of you. That's something. We sat in comfortable silence, eating casserole at midnight like it was normal, like my life hadn't become a true crime documentary. I'm proud of you, she said finally, for surviving, for fighting, for not letting them win. They did win, Mom. Look at me. I'm alone in a house full of ghosts, afraid of my own shadow, unable to trust anyone. That's not winning, Preston. That's just the middle of the story. The ending hasn't been written yet. She was right, of course. Mothers usually are. But sitting in my kitchen at midnight, surrounded by the debris of a life I thought I knew, the ending felt impossibly far away. Tomorrow would bring more revelations, more interviews, more strangers dissecting my pain for entertainment. But tonight, with Mom's casserole warming my stomach and her presence warming the cold spaces Jocelyn left behind, I could almost believe that somewhere past all this darkness, dawn was waiting. Almost. Chapter 10. The courthouse in downtown Buffalo looked like a fortress of justice that morning, all limestone and legitimacy. 6 months after the arrests, the criminal trial was finally beginning. I sat in the prosecutor's waiting room, my new suit feeling like armor I wasn't sure would hold. Valerie Brown sat across from me, reviewing notes one last time. "Remember," she said, "you're not on trial. They are. Then why does it feel like I'm the one being judged?" "Because you are. By the jury, the media, the public, but not for crimes, for survival. There's a difference." Jesse knocked and entered. "They're ready for you." The courtroom was packed, every seat filled, reporters relegated to an overflow room with video feeds. I tried not to look at the defense table, but I couldn't help myself. Derek sat rigid in a gray suit that couldn't hide his jail pallor. Jocelyn was beside him, but separated by their lawyers, thinner now, her hair grown out showing dark roots beneath the auburn. When our eyes met, she looked away first. "The state calls Preston Thompson." The walk to the witness stand felt like crossing a minefield. Every eye followed me, every breath held. "Mr. Thompson," Valerie began after I was sworn in, "please tell the court about your marriage to the defendant, Jocelyn Thompson." For the next 3 hours, I laid bare my life, the hidden inheritance, the perfect marriage that wasn't, Warren Miller, the false diagnosis, the poison pills, the midnight discovery. My voice stayed steady even when describing the moment I realized the woman I loved was trying to kill me. "How did that make you feel?" Valerie asked. "Like I was already dead, like the person I'd been trusting, loving, naive had been murdered. The body just hadn't caught up yet." Derek's lawyer, Mitchell Brennan, stood for cross-examination. He looked like money and moral flexibility. "Mr. Thompson, you're worth $2.3 billion, correct?" "Approximately." "Yet you hid this from your wife for 5 years?" "I wanted to be loved for myself, not my money." "So you lied." "I omitted information." "A lie of omission is still a lie, isn't it?" "Objection," Valerie called. "Relevance?" "Goes to credibility, Your Honor." "Overruled." Brennan smiled like a shark scenting blood. "Isn't it true that you were planning to divorce Jocelyn?" "No." "You never considered it? Never thought about leaving?" "I had doubts about her fidelity, but I wanted to work through them. By spying on her, recording her, conducting surveillance, by trying to understand what was happening, or by building a case for divorce that would protect your billions." "Objection!" Valerie stood. "Counsel is testifying. Sustained." But the seed was planted. I could see it in some jurors' faces, doubt creeping in like fog. Jocelyn's lawyer, Sandra Chen, took a different approach. "Mr. Thompson, do you believe my client loved you?" I paused. "I believe she loved the idea of me." "What does that mean?" "She loved what she thought I could give her, security, status, a certain life. But not you yourself? No, you don't try to kill people you love." "What if she was coerced, manipulated by Dr. Lopez?" "She had every opportunity to stop, to tell me, to get help. She chose not to." "You sound angry." "I am angry. She took 5 years of my life, made me believe I was dying, poisoned me in my own home. Yes, I'm angry. Angry enough to want revenge? I don't want revenge. I want justice." "What's the difference?" "Revenge would be doing to them what they did to me. Justice is letting the law do its job." The next day, Ariel testified. She brought the medical records, the real ones, showing my perfect health before Derek's diagnosis. She described seeing Derek and Jocelyn together after hours, the way they touched when they thought no one was watching. "I knew something was wrong," she said, "but I never imagined this." Then came the forensic accountant, breaking down the money trail. Warren Miller's fake identity, the insurance policies, the offshore accounts, charts and graphs that turned attempted murder into PowerPoint presentations. On day 3, they played the recordings from my house. Jocelyn's voice filled the courtroom. He took the increased dose, getting weaker. Derek's response: "Good. Timeline still on track?" Several jurors looked at the defendants with open disgust. Then came the most damaging evidence, a video from Derek's phone, recovered by the FBI. Him and Jocelyn in Toronto, champagne glasses raised. "To Preston," Derek said in the video, smirking. "To his generous life insurance," Jocelyn replied, and they laughed. The timestamp showed it was taken the night I thought she was visiting Warren for his chemotherapy. The defense's case was predictable. Derek's team argued medical disagreement, not malpractice, mistakes, not attempted murder. They brought in expert witnesses who testified that diagnostic errors happen. but Valerie destroyed each one on cross. Doctor, is prescribing medications that mimic heart disease symptoms to a healthy patient a diagnostic error? Well, no. Is falsifying test results an error? That would be intentional. Exactly. Jocelyn's defense was more pathetic. She was a woman in love, manipulated by a powerful man. Sandra Chen painted her as a victim, too. My client was seduced by Dr. Lopez, promised a life she'd never had, threatened when she tried to leave. But the prosecution had texts showing Jocelyn initiated many of their schemes, had spreadsheets of my supposed net worth, had researched poisons online before she ever met Derek. Then came the moment I dreaded. Jocelyn took the stand. She wore a conservative dress, no makeup, looking fragile and remorseful. Sandra Chen led her through softball questions, her difficult childhood, her dreams of a better life, how Derek swept her off her feet. I loved my husband, she said, looking at me, but I wasn't in love with him anymore. So you decided to kill him? Valerie asked on cross. No, I mean, Derek said it would be merciful. Preston was sick. Preston wasn't sick until you and Derek made him sick. I was confused. Derek showed me test results that he falsified, and you knew it. I didn't. Valerie pulled out a paper. This is an email you sent to Derek. Quote, the healthy test results are hidden. Preston will never find them. End quote. Still confused? Jocelyn broke down crying, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of someone caught. Derek testified last. Arrogant even in custody, he tried to maintain his doctor's authority. Mr. Thompson presented with classic symptoms that you induced with medication, Valerie interrupted. That's conjecture. That's confession. We have you on tape discussing it. Derek's composure finally cracked. You don't understand the pressure, the debts. Jocelyn promised. Promised what? He caught himself, jaw clenching. I invoke my Fifth Amendment right. But it was too late. The jury had heard enough. Closing arguments were brutal. Valerie painted them as predators who saw me as nothing more than a payday. The defense tried everything: reasonable doubt, mental illness, crimes of passion. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. On the count of attempted murder in the first degree, we find Derek Lopez guilty. On the count of attempted murder in the first degree, we find Jocelyn Thompson guilty. Then came the litany of other charges. Wire fraud, guilty. Insurance fraud, guilty. Conspiracy, guilty. Identity theft, guilty. Derek got 35 years. The judge called him a disgrace to medicine who weaponized trust. Jocelyn got 25 years. The judge was equally harsh. You violated the most sacred trust marriage. You looked at someone who loved you and saw only opportunity. As they led her away, Jocelyn turned to me one last time. I'm sorry, she mouthed. I didn't respond. What was there to say? Outside the courthouse, the media swarmed. But I had one more stop to make divorce court. It was anticlimactic after the criminal trial. Jocelyn appeared via video link from prison, her lawyer beside her. The judge reviewed the prenuptial agreement, particularly the fraud clause my father had insisted on. Given the criminal convictions, this is straightforward. The marriage is dissolved. Miss Thompson forfeits all marital assets. Your Honor, I said, standing. There's something else. The judge looked surprised. Yes, Mr. Thompson? I want the court to know that my wife never knew about my inheritance. She tried to kill me for what she thought was a modest estate. I hid billions from her. Jocelyn's face on the screen went white. Even from prison, I could see her doing the math what she'd thrown away for a mere $2 million in insurance. Is there a legal point to this disclosure? The judge asked. No, Your Honor. I just wanted the record to be complete. The judge granted the divorce. Jocelyn was crying on the screen when they disconnected. Later at Mom's house, surrounded by family who'd stood by me, I felt something I hadn't in over a year: peace. Not happiness, not yet, but peace. It's over, Corey said, raising a beer. The trial's over, I corrected. The rest is just beginning. What rest? Living. Actually living. Not just surviving or fighting or protecting myself. Living. Mom squeezed my hand. That's the best revenge. I thought we agreed on justice, not revenge. Sometimes, she said with a smile. They're the same thing. That night, I stood in my empty house. I decided to sell it. Too many ghosts, and thought about Jocelyn in her cell. Was she replaying every moment, seeing all the signs she'd missed about my wealth? Was Derek in his cell still believing he was smarter than everyone else? I'd never know. And for the first time, I didn't care. They'd stolen enough of my thoughts, my time, my life. Tomorrow, I'd start over. New house, new routines, new everything. But tonight, I raised a glass of water. I still couldn't bring myself to drink anything I hadn't opened myself to the empty room. To survival, I said aloud, and for the first time in a long time, I actually believed it. Chapter 11. 8 months after the trial, the morning sun painted the Adirondacks gold through my cabin windows. I'd bought this place sight unseen 3 months after the divorce, needing distance from Buffalo, from the house where I'd been slowly murdered, from the sympathetic looks and whispered conversations that followed me everywhere. My coffee tasted like coffee now, not potential poison. Small victories. "You're brooding again," Sabrina said over our video session. Even 300 miles away, she could read me. Thinking, there's a difference. "What about—" "I got a letter from Jocelyn." Sabrina leaned forward on my laptop screen. "When?" "Yesterday, forwarded through her lawyer." "Have you read it?" "No." "Are you going to?" I looked at the envelope on my kitchen counter, her prisoner number where our return address used to be. "I don't know. What could she possibly say?" "That's not for me to answer. But Preston, you're allowed to be curious. You're also allowed to burn it unread. There's no right choice." After our session, I drove into Lake Placid for groceries. The anonymity was refreshing, just another guy buying milk and bread, not that man whose wife tried to kill him. At the checkout, the elderly cashier, Doris, chatted about the weather while scanning my items. Normal, mundane, perfect. My phone rang as I loaded the truck. "Jesse, got some news," he said. "Derek Lopez was attacked in prison yesterday." "Is he?" "Alive. But apparently one of the other inmates lost his mother to a misdiagnosis. Rough justice. I don't feel bad for him. Didn't expect you to. Also thought you should know the Patient Advocacy Foundation you established has helped 17 families so far. The Morrison case goes to trial next month. The foundation. My $50 million attempt to make something good from all this pain. Thanks for the update. How's the hermit life?" "Quiet. Too quiet. No such thing anymore." Back at the cabin, I finally opened Jocelyn's letter. Her handwriting, once so familiar on grocery lists and anniversary cards, looked foreign now. "Preston, I know I have no right to contact you. I know you probably won't read this, but I need to say some things even if they're just to paper. You asked if any of it was real. In the beginning, yes. I did love you. The Preston who made me laugh, who held me during thunderstorms, who brought me flowers every Friday, that was real. But somewhere along the way, I convinced myself it wasn't enough. Derek promised me more money, more excitement, more everything. And I was weak enough, selfish enough, stupid enough to believe him. I think about that moment every day when you told the court about your inheritance. $2.3 billion. I threw away a fortune for pocket change. But more than that, I threw away the only person who ever really loved me for poison dressed as love. Derek hasn't written me once. His lawyer says he blames me for everything. The man I destroyed my life for doesn't even acknowledge I exist anymore. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm not asking for pity. I deserve none. I just wanted you to know that the woman who married you, who said vows she meant at the time, who loved you before the greed took over she existed, and she's sorry she let her die. I hope you find real love, the kind I was too broken to give." Jocelyn, I read it twice, then fed it to the fireplace. Not out of anger, but ceremony. The last words between us turned to smoke and memory. That evening, Mom called. "I have news," she said, her voice suspiciously cheerful. "What kind of news?" "I may have given your number to someone. Mom. She's an art professor at Syracuse, divorced, loves hiking, no secret murder plans." "That's your bar now? No murder plans?" "It's a start." I wanted to be angry, but I laughed instead. "I'm not ready." "You'll never be ready if you wait for ready. Sometimes you just have to jump." I jumped once, landed in attempted murder. So jump better this time. The next morning, I returned to Buffalo for the first time in months. The dedication ceremony for the new cardiac wing at Buffalo General, funded by the foundation, named after my father, not me. The hospital felt different, smaller somehow, less threatening. Richard Hartley, the CEO, pumped my hand. "Mr. Thompson, we can't thank you enough. Thank my father. He's the one who deserved justice." Ariel was there, now head of cardiac nursing. She hugged me tight. "You look good," she said. "Healthy. Actually healthy this time." I never doubted it. The ceremony was mercifully brief. I cut the ribbon, said a few words about accountability and justice, and tried not to think about how Derek had walked these same halls playing God. Afterward, in the parking garage, I ran into someone unexpected, Derek's ex-wife, Patricia. "Preston," she said, looking surprised. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Making peace with ghosts." She laughed bitterly. "Do they ever rest?" "I'll let you know." We stood awkwardly for a moment before she said, "I'm glad you survived him." "I'm glad you did, too." "Can I ask you something? Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd never found out?" I'd wondered that every day for months. I'd be dead by now. Or maybe they'd have gotten sloppy, confident. Maybe you'd have figured it out anyway. Maybe. She handed me a business card. "I run a support group now, for survivors of intimate partner abuse. If you ever want to talk to people who understand." "Thanks, but the betrayal trauma doesn't just go away because they're in prison. Trust me." Driving back to Lake Placid, I thought about Patricia's words. The betrayal trauma. Is that what this weight in my chest was? This constant waiting for the next shoe to drop? 2 weeks later, I attended her support group. 7 people in a church basement, all carrying invisible wounds from people who were supposed to love them. "The hardest part," said a woman named Grace, whose husband had gaslit her for years about his affairs, "is trusting your own judgment again. Like I missed all the signs. How do I know I won't miss them again?" Everyone nodded, including me. "You learn to trust differently," Patricia said. "Not blindly, but consciously. You check in with yourself, you honor your instincts. You remember that their sickness wasn't your fault." After the meeting, Grace approached me. "You're the guy from the news." "Yeah. My teenager is obsessed with your case. Says you're proof that victims can fight back." "I got lucky." "No, you got brave. There's a difference." Spring came to the Adirondacks slowly, then all at once. Ice became water, brown became green, silence became birdsong. I started painting something I'd always wanted to try. Terrible landscapes that would make Aunt Celeste spin in her grave, but they were mine, created without fear or suspicion. The art professor Mom had mentioned, Rebecca, texted one day. "Your mother is persistent," she wrote. "She's called me 3 times. I'm sorry about her." "Don't be. She loves you, that's clear. Coffee sometime? No pressure. Just coffee." I stared at the text for an hour before responding. Just coffee. We met in Syracuse, neutral ground. She was nothing like Jocelyn tall, where Jocelyn was petite, dark-haired, where Jocelyn was auburn, quiet, where Jocelyn had been effusive. "Your mom didn't mention the whole attempted murder thing until our second call," she said over cappuccino. "Deal breaker? Honestly? Almost. But then I Googled you. Read the transcripts. Watched your testimony." She paused. "You loved her. Really loved her. That's rare. And look where it got me. It got you here. Alive. Stronger. Still capable of sitting across from a stranger and trying again. This isn't trying. This is coffee. Coffee is a start." We talked for 3 hours about art. She knew Aunt Celeste's work. About teaching, about her divorce, mutual, boring, no attempted homicide, about starting over. "I should go," she finally said. "But Preston, your mom was right. You're worth the persistence." That night I called Mom. "How was coffee?" "How did you?" "Mothers know. It was nice." "Nice?" "Normal. She felt normal." "Good. Normal is good." "Mom?" "Yeah?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For not giving up on me." "Oh, honey, that's what family does." Later, standing on my deck watching the sun set over the mountains, I thought about Jocelyn in her cell, Derek in his. They'd wanted my money, my life, my death. They'd gotten none of it. Instead, I'd gotten something I never expected: a second chance. Not just at life, but at living. Real living. The kind where you trust the coffee, answer the texts, and believe that not everyone who says they love you is lying. The foundation had helped 23 families now. Rebecca and I had graduated to dinner. The cabin felt less like hiding and more like home. I wasn't the Preston who'd married Jocelyn. That trusting, naive man was gone. But I wasn't the Preston who'd discovered her betrayal either, that angry, paranoid survivor. I was someone new, someone who'd been broken and rebuilt, someone who knew that love could be both poison and cure, depending on who was offering the cup. As stars emerged in the darkening sky, I raised my beer, which I'd opened myself. Old habits die hard to the universe. To new beginnings, I said aloud. And somewhere in the distance, I could swear I heard the universe answer. About time. My phone buzzed. Rebecca. Dinner Saturday? I found a place that lets you watch them cook your food. Figured that might appeal to you. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in so long. Perfect, I texted back. And for once, I actually meant it. The end. What haunts me most about Preston's story isn't the betrayal itself, but how perfectly it illustrates that we often hide our true selves out of fear, only to attract those who are hiding something far worse. The irony that Jocelyn threw away billions for thousands, and Preston nearly lost his life trying to be loved for himself rather than his wealth, makes me wonder, in our relationships, are we all just showing each other elaborate facades, and would we recognize genuine love if it stood right in front of us?